Song Chao bought a gold ring for only 9.9 yuan, thinking he had struck a huge bargain. But the moment he twisted the ring, he was transported into a zombie apocalypse where food was desperately scarce. In this world, just 3 eggs could buy a blonde, blue-eyed beauty to keep you warm at night. A single pound of pork could be traded for a stockpile of weapons and ammunition. Gold and money, however, were completely worthless here. Only food counted as true hard currency. Luckily, Song Chao had crossed over with 2 freshly harvested buckets of tomatoes. Thanks to his agility, he had managed to survive multiple zombie attacks. But suddenly, a red-haired girl appeared in front of him. Before Song Chao could figure out what was happening, she dragged him back to their base by force. Then she pulled out a whip and demanded, "Why did you sneak into our base? Were you plotting? With monsters roaming everywhere, where did you get those precious buckets of tomatoes? Did you tamper with them?" Another girl nearby was so scared she spat out the tomato she had just eaten. She complained, "Sis, if you didn't want me to eat, just say it. I checked. There's only a little pesticide residue." It turned out these sisters were known as the twin flowers of West City, the elder, Shun Jiawen, and the younger, Shun Jiamei. Seeing this, Song Chao quickly begged, "Please, just let me go first, all right? I came from another base. I just want to make a deal with you. If you help me with some tasks, I could supply you with even more tomatoes." Shun Jiawen was stunned. "You still have more? But what exactly do you want us to do? Don't tell me you're a slaver." When Song Chao stayed silent, she pressed him further, asking if he had other food. Shun Jiamei shouted excitedly, "I want vegetables and eggs." Hearing such strange requests, Song Chao finally realized he had really landed in a world where food was the rarest treasure. He cautiously asked, "Then what can a basket of tomatoes get me here?" Shun Jiawen touched her chin and replied, "About 6 energy modules or over a dozen sets of laser pulse rifles. If you're looking to buy slaves, you could even trade for 6 beautiful women." Hearing that, Song Chao couldn't help feeling tempted. After all, he had been single for 18 years. Maybe in this world, he could finally enjoy life with women in his arms. But Shun Jiawen's expression turned cold, suspecting he was tied to slavers. Song Chao quickly explained he just wanted to exchange for valuable items, like gold or jewelry. Shun Jiawen stared at him in disbelief. "Those things have been worthless for ages. Who are you really?" Song Chao lied, claiming his base was abundant in resources and needed such trinkets to please women. "Since you need food and we want gold and jewels, then we can trade." As soon as he said that, Shun Jiawen became interested. After discussing the details, she agreed without hesitation. However, 1 tomato could only be exchanged for at most 10 kilos of gold or something of equal value. As for these 2 buckets, consider them a deposit. Shun Jiawen stepped closer to Song Chao and said, "From today on, Jiamei and I will be responsible for your safety. You can move around freely, but you must stay within my sight." Song Chao made an excuse, saying he needed to use the restroom. Shun Jiawen waved him off impatiently, telling him to go farther away so he wouldn't disturb them while they enjoyed the tomatoes. Once outside, Song Chao felt both lucky and nervous. If I bring more food back in a few days, won't I strike it rich? Then I won't have to worry about my parents' medical bills or my sister's tuition. With that, he twisted the ring on his hand, intending to return. In the next instant, a swirling vortex opened above his head. In less than 2.5 seconds, Song Chao was transported back to the real world. Just as Song Chao was about to gather more supplies, he was spotted by his neighbor, Aunt Zhang. She pointed at him and shouted for him to pay back the 10,000 yuan his family had borrowed. Song Chao could only beg her to wait a little longer, promising he would repay her as soon as he had the money. But Aunt Zhang snapped, "I've waited 5 years already. Those 2 sick weaklings in your family might as well die early, so you can save the money to pay me back." Those words instantly lit a fire in Song Chao's chest. He smashed his fist against the wall. "Say one more word about my family, and I'll kill you. I'll pay you back tomorrow, with interest. Now, get the hell out of here." Startled, Aunt Zhang backed off but cursed as she left. "You little brat dare to scare me? If you don't pay tomorrow, don't blame me for what happens. Without wasting time, Song Chao went to the supermarket, buying 2 buckets of vegetables and a box of eggs, preparing to make a fortune in the apocalypse. He twisted the ring and began the transfer again. But the moment he arrived, a gun was pressed against his forehead. Standing before him was Shun Jiawen. "Welcome back. Now tell me, why did you vanish yesterday?" Terrified, Song Chao quickly explained that he had gone back for more supplies. "Look, I brought you something." But before he finished speaking, the food in his hands suddenly vanished. It turned out Shun Jiamei had already snatched it away, drooling as she shouted, "It's really vegetables and eggs." Before long, Song Chao had cooked up a feast. One sister bit into a tomato, while the other devoured cabbage. Tears streamed down Shun Jiamei's face. "It's been so long since I've eaten vegetables this fresh." But Shun Jiawen remained suspicious, demanding to know where the food had come from. As far as she knew, within 10 kilometers of the base, there was nothing but zombies and mutant beasts. Song Chao only told them not to ask too much. "Stick with me, and I promise you'll have meat to eat." Hearing this, Shun Jiawen's eyes lit up. She immediately offered to take him to the villa district to collect gold and jewelry, letting him take whatever caught his eye. She left Shun Jiamei behind to guard the base, ordering her to kill any intruders on sight. After changing into combat gear, Shun Jiawen tossed Song Chao a multifunction wrist device. It wasn't just for communication and tracking. It could also detect radiation levels nearby. "Figure out in the car," she said casually. When Song Chao first laid eyes on her bumblebee ride, he was stunned. It was an all-terrain magnetic hover car. As soon as he got on, he clung tightly to Shun Jiawen's waist, too scared to let go. Before long, they arrived at the luxury villa district. Shun Jiawen warned him to stick close and not act on his own, since this area hadn't been touched in a long time. Inside a luxury villa, Shun Jiawen stopped in front of a large mirror in the master bedroom. She suddenly kicked it hard. Song Chao was stunned. The mirror hid a secret door behind it. Shun Jiawen scoffed. "Back in the day, my home was way fancier than this." She blasted the lock open with her laser pulse rifle. When the door swung wide, a golden sailing ship immediately caught Song Chao's attention. His heart leapt. It was a pure gold galleon. Selling it back home would make him rich overnight. Then he noticed a gold ring lying nearby. Anything stored in a vault had to be valuable. Suddenly, a thunderous crash echoed from outside. Shun Jiawen's expression sharpened in an instant. She leaned to the window to check. It was a gang from the southern outskirts, the same scum who had always wanted to sell the sisters into slavery. Right now, they were being swarmed by giant mutant hornets. Shun Jiawen sneered, "Serves them right." Though attacking them now could have solved the problem once and for all. She chose instead to grab Song Chao and jump out the window. But when he landed from the second floor, Song Chao twisted his ankle. Shun Jiawen was surprised. "You've never taken genetic enhancement serum? Your body's this weak? 30 eggs could buy you 1 shot." As they fled, a bullet suddenly whizzed by with a bang. The slavers had spotted them and even dared to beg for help. Shun Jiawen fired back immediately. "Help my ass." They ducked behind cover, and she shoved a gun into Song Chao's hands, telling him to lay down cover fire. When he admitted he didn't know how to shoot, she rolled her eyes. "Of course. Taking this job was my bad luck." She then hurled a flashbang and insect-repelling smoke grenade toward the enemy. The slavers, confused by the chaos, unleashed a hail of bullets in their direction. Luckily, Shun Jiawen's combat suit activated its defense system, and the shot only grazed her arm. She quickly jumped into the Bumblebee hover car, speeding away with Song Chao. They barely escaped with their lives. Back at the base, Shun Jiawen let out a cold snort, visibly angry. Song Chao apologized immediately, vowing he wouldn't drag her down again. Shun Jiamei carefully treated her sister, applying bandages and injecting a restorative serum. In an instant, Shun Jiawen's wound healed completely. Song Chao was dumbfounded. The medicine worked like a miracle. Maybe it could even cure his parents. He resolved to gather more food as soon as possible. Waving goodbye to the sisters, he promised he would bring them even more delicious food next time. Back in the real world, the first thing Song Chao did was sell the golden ship. Several gold shops refused to buy it since he couldn't provide a receipt. But just as despair set in, a pawn shop owner showed great interest in the item. His intercontinental antique shop never asked questions and welcomed all kinds of goods. When Zhou Fuyuan saw the golden ship, his eyes nearly popped out. Song Chao originally planned to sell it for the regular gold price. But after examining it carefully with a magnifying glass, Zhou was thrilled. He declared it was pure, top-grade gold and offered to buy it as an art piece. Consider it a friendly deal. Weight, 1,796 grams. Moments later, Song Chao's bank account lit up with 740,000 yuan. Finally, he had money in hand. The first thing he did was pay back Aunt Zhang with full interest. He coldly warned her that if she ever insulted his family again, he would never forgive her. That night, lying in bed, Song Chao thought about the future. He would buy his parents a house and hire a caretaker. The next day, he crossed back into the apocalypse with plenty of food. Shun Jiawen, Shun Jiamei, I'm back. Yet the moment he appeared, Shun Jiawen pressed her gun against his forehead again. The sisters' vigilance never dropped. Once they recognized him, both finally relaxed. Song Chao grinned and pulled out cured meat and sausages. The sisters were overjoyed to taste such rare delicacies again. After eating her fill, Shun Jiamei let out a satisfied burp. She teased with a laugh. Sis, why don't you just marry Brother Chao? That way we'll never worry about food again. Shun Jiawen blushed, knocking her sister on the head. Shameless girl, selling me off that easily? She then turned serious. We need to head to Linjiang base to stock up on supplies and buy another combat suit. You coming? Song Chao's heart raced. Of course. I got a lot to buy too. With that, he tossed 2 black bags onto the ground. Inside were not just vegetables and fruit, but plenty of meat as well. Shun Jiamei's eyes lit up with excitement, grinning mischievously. Sis, maybe you really should marry him. You'll never find another man like this. Shun Jiawen's face flushed red. Stop spouting nonsense, or I'll shut that mouth of yours. The 3 of them mounted the Bumblebee hovercar and set off toward Linjiang base. When Song Chao saw the massive fortress-like base for the first time, he was left in awe. According to Shun Jiamei, Linjiang base was built like a fortress, layered with electric grids and mines, so that no ordinary mutant beast dared approach. At the entrance, everyone had to line up and swipe a card to get in. Shun Jiawen reminded Song Chao that all trade inside was done with digital credits. 1 egg could be exchanged for 2 credits. With a beep, the card scan went through. One of the guards sneered. Well, the twin flowers of West City, raising a man now. Shun Jiawen shot him a glare. Shut it. Do your job. Once inside, Song Chao was stunned by the sight of advanced technology everywhere. But before anything else, they had to surrender their weapons. Shun Jiawen reassured him that the residential and commercial zones were completely safe. Just then, a man in camouflage walked by, dragging along a blonde, blue-eyed woman. He shouted to the crowd, fresh from the southern districts. 10 credits, and she's yours for the night. Song Chao swallowed hard. Just 5 eggs could buy a woman? Shun Jiawen quickly warned him not to get involved. Her voice was cold. They may look human, but for a bite of food they'd slit your throat and take everything you have. Song Chao waved his hands, insisting he had no such thoughts, urging them to head for the exchange. At the trading center, Shun Jiawen placed the food on the counter with a smile, helping him convert all into credits. The clerk was shocked at what he saw. Not only were there eggs, but fresh vegetables, and even 3 kilos of pork. My God, where did you? His bald colleague quickly cut him off with a whisper. Don't ask, unless you want trouble. For all we know, that kid's a young master from some big base. The first clerk shut up immediately and processed the exchange without another word. Soon, the food was converted into 470 digital credits. Shun Jiamei cheered, eager to drag her sister off shopping. Song Chao laughed. Go ahead, pick whatever you want. Today it's all on me. But their display of wealth soon attracted the eyes of people with bad intentions. Unaware of the danger, Song Chao followed the two sisters into the bustling trading market. His jaw dropped at the sight. He could hardly believe it was real. Rows of combat mechs stood proudly on display. Class A destroyers, Class B assault units, and Class C air dominators. Everything you could imagine. Too bad he didn't know how to pilot any of them. All he could do was drool. To make matters worse, the sisters ditched him there and left him wandering alone. Fuming, Song Chao wished he could leave them a one-star review and fire them on the spot. Still, he knew he needed gear. This was the apocalypse. If he wanted to survive, he couldn't keep hiding behind women. He scanned the shelves and picked up an automatic pistol. After confirming the purchase, he began searching for more survival gear. Meanwhile, the hunters tailing him slipped into a bar to report to their boss. When the underling mentioned that Song Chao had fresh pork and vegetables, Tiger's eyes narrowed, his voice cold as he demanded confirmation of the details. The lackey bent low, swearing the intel was solid. Tiger knew well. Anyone flaunting pork in these times was filthy rich. If they pulled this off, the gang could live large for months. He ordered his man Lao Lu to set up an ambush along the western outskirts. By then, Song Chao had already stocked up on a full set of equipment and walked out of the trading market with satisfaction. Holding his new weapons, he finally felt he had at least some means of protecting himself. Soon, the sisters returned from shopping and met him at the rendezvous point. Seeing him in new gear, Shun Jimei teased, "Well, got yourself a new look?" Song Chao flinched, then chuckled and greeted them. "You're back." Shun Jiawen glanced him over with a smile. "Not bad. At least you know survival comes first. By the way, we've already spent all the money. Time to head back." Song Chao froze. "What? Didn't you say it was a fortune?" The sisters exchanged a grin. "Of course it was. That's why we bought so many goodies. Brother Chao, those candied hawthorns were amazing. You have my eternal gratitude." Song Chao nearly choked. "By eternal gratitude, you mean your stomach, right?" Shin Jiamei laughed awkwardly. "Don't sweat the details." After loading up on supplies at the base, Song Chao was ready to return with the sisters. Unaware Tiger and his gang had already set an ambush along their route. Lao Lu spotted the incoming hovercar and shouted, "Boss, the prey is here." Tiger's eyes gleamed with excitement as he gave the order. "Boys, get ready. Don't kill the fat sheep. We need them alive to cash in." At his command, the gang raised their guns and unleashed a hail of bullets. Explosions thundered, and the hovercar was engulfed in fire and smoke. Tiger glared at the burning wreckage, cursing his men. "Didn't I tell you not to kill them? How the hell are we supposed to cash in now?" He spat on the ground. "Idiots! Blown to pieces for nothing." He ordered his thugs to check the scene, but all they found was smoldering scrap. Before they could figure it out, a low hum filled the air. Tiger's eyes narrowed. He knew that sound. It was a missile cutting through the sky. An explosion ripped across the field, and several lackeys were vaporized instantly. From a distance, Shan Jiamei admired the fireworks with a grin. One shot, one soul, worth every coin Song Chao paid. The survivors looked around in panic. What the hell just happened? Tiger's gut clenched. He realized they had walked into a reverse ambush. The hovercar had been a decoy, bait to lure them out into a kill zone. He could already sense the second wave of firepower incoming. He barked orders. "Take out whoever's sniping us now." Song Chao saw the regrouped hunters charging in their direction, his face tight with worry. Fully armed raiders stormed toward them like wolves. Song Chao shouted to Shun Jiamei, "They're coming straight at us." Shun Jiamei rolled her eyes, clearly annoyed. She glanced at the shell charging in front of her. Torn by hesitation, close combat wasn't her strength. As the enemies drew nearer, she sighed. No choice. Time to bring out the floating cannons. The drones launched, rising high into the sky, then arranged themselves into formation. Gripping her heavy cannon, Shun Jiamei smirked wickedly. "There's nothing firepower can't solve. And if there is, it just means I need more firepower." The lead raider was obliterated in an instant by a beam of searing light. Others fell in heaps, casualties mounting fast. Survivors scattered in terror. A female raider spotted the danger. But before she could even warn the others, she was vaporized by the barrage. One lone thug stared in disbelief at Shun Jiamei, the buzzing drones still circling overhead. He couldn't believe weapons like that were being sold to civilians. But before he could make sense of it, Shun Jiamei's cold gaze marked his end. He too was erased in the blast. The floating cannons rained down purifying beams like holy light, wiping out every last raider charging their way. Shun Jiamei laughed in triumph. My sister was right. There's nothing one blast can't solve. If there is, I'll just make the next one bigger. Meanwhile, Shun Jiawen had already flanked around to their rear. Tiger felt a chill down his spine and spun his head, only to be met with a storm of gunfire as Shun Jiawen unleashed hell. Gunshots roared. His men dropped like flies. Sweating profusely, Tiger shouted, "The moment she lands, kill her." But Shun Jiawen wasn't foolish. She used her aerial advantage, triggering a double jump to hang midair. The thugs gaped, dumbfounded. With a flick of her arm, a hidden blade snapped out. She dove straight down toward the heavy gunner. In stunned silence, they watched as the machine gunner fell lifeless at her feet. With the Reaper herself bearing down on them, Tiger realized he had picked the wrong fight. One by one, the remaining raiders were cut down in her assault. Driven to desperation, Tiger yanked out his sidearm, eyes bloodshot, and fired wildly at her. The gunshots cracked like thunder. 2 special rounds sliced through the air, aimed straight at Shun Jiawen. Shun Jiawen sensed danger and tried to dodge, but it was too late. She took the hit and crashed to the ground, losing her balance. Shun Jiamei and Song Chao rushed over, their hearts sinking. Their pillar of support had fallen. Tiger grinned wickedly, savoring the sight of his bullet striking her. But he didn't expect Shun Jiawen to push off the ground and fire back the moment she landed. His hand exploded in blood, the pain ripping a scream from his throat. Shun Jiawen seized the chance, raising her gun to finish him on the spot. Luck saved Tiger. One of his lackeys tackled him to the ground, sparing his life. As she closed in step by step, Tiger realized the fat sheep was really a wolf in disguise. Panic-stricken, he led his remaining men in a desperate retreat. After the brutal battle, Shun Jiawen's strength was spent. The moment she saw Song Chao and her sister, the tension drained from her body and she collapsed, caught just in time by Shun Jiamei. Song Chao looked at her pale face and realized how badly she'd been hurt. Her armor was shredded, fragments of the round buried deep in her abdomen. Weakly, Shun Jiawen ordered them to bring her back to Linjiang base, insisting only Dr. Su could remove this kind of special bullet. At the private hospital, senior physician Su Jing eyed her on the bed with a teasing smirk. "So, even you slip up sometimes. What a surprise." Shun Jiawen gave a weary sigh. Who could have guessed those thugs had ammo strong enough to pierce level 2 armor? Su Jing nodded knowingly. "Smuggled goods, no doubt. You're just unlucky." She then prodded with a grin. "So, did you snag yourself a rich fool lately?" Expecting denial, she was shocked when Shun Jiawen admitted it and asked where they were now. According to Su, her younger sister was pacing anxiously outside the worried sick. As for the so-called rich fool, he seemed more fascinated by the enhancement chamber. From the look of him, he'd never even had a basic augmentation. Shun Jiawen forced a pained smile. "Who knows?" Su Jing glanced at the med panel, then asked why she hadn't installed an extra power cell or a shield module when upgrading her gear. Her silence gave her away. She hadn't forgotten, she'd simply overlooked it, and the realization left her embarrassed. Su Jing cut through the tension. Still refusing anesthesia? Shun Jiawen turned her head, unable to meet her gaze. "No, anesthetics take too long to wear off." Su Jing's eyes gleamed darkly as she adjusted the instruments. "And who told you once the bullet's out, you'd be free to run around again?" Shun Jiawen's eyes widened in fear. Maybe anesthesia wasn't such a bad idea after all. But it was too late. The scalpel cut deep, and her screams echoed through the room. Meanwhile, Tiger staggered back to his base, dragging his wounded body. To his shock, the place was deserted. Only a group of strangers awaited him. In seconds, he and his men were surrounded by armed troops. His lackeys were pinned to the ground. Tiger glared at the newcomers, demanding answers. The informant Snake Tusheng looked down on him with open disdain. Still, he offered an explanation, if only to let Tiger die with clarity. You crossed Shunjiawan. That's a death sentence. Tiger's face twisted with panic as the truth sank in. One of his men roared angrily. The intel came from you? What kind of joke is this? Tiger roared. Do you even realize how many men we lost? Before he could finish, a nearby soldier put a bullet through his head. The sudden, ruthless execution left Tiger and his remaining lackeys stunned. He never expected such decisiveness. Snake Tusheng sneered. Sorry, Tiger. Your boss was talking, and your mutt cut in. Consider that discipline on your behalf. Tiger scowled. I'm from the south outskirts. If you lay a hand on me, Lone Wolf won't spare you. Snake Tusheng paused, then smirked. Lone Wolf? Please. You messed with Shunjiawan. The three big bosses of Linjiang base demanded blood. Lone Wolf? He's already at the bottom of the river in concrete shoes. Tiger's pupils shrank. Hearing his leader's death spoken so casually, he realized he was finished. His only chance was to grovel and hope for mercy. Before he could, Snake Tusheng leaned closer with a sly grin. Look at you now. Why not do me one last favor? Tiger ground his teeth. What do you want? Snake Tusheng didn't hesitate. Simple. Hand over your credits and property deeds. Consider it my fee. Meanwhile, Song Chao stood before the gene enhancement chamber, sighing in frustration, desperate to strengthen his frail body. Dr. Su, fresh from Shunjiawan's surgery, noticed his stare and casually asked if he was curious about the serum. Recognizing her, Song Chao quickly asked about Shunjiawan's condition. Su replied calmly that it was just a minor procedure, and Song Chao finally let out a breath of relief. Dr. Su knew Song Chao was a rich fool and clearly fascinated by the serum, so she decided to fleece him. Young man, care to try genetic enhancement? Song Chao froze at the offer. Then his face lit up. How much? Su tapped her chin. 800 credits. Installments accepted. Song Chao frowned. 800 sounded steep. Su leaned in with a patient smile. Gene serum is the greatest invention of the century. With it, you can survive against mutant beasts, endure radiation zones, even stomach-contaminated food. The real selling point isn't raw strength, it's survival. It's dignity. Convinced by her pitch, the clueless Song Chao agreed to undergo enhancement. Su walked away in high spirits. She had just conned him into paying 800 credits at a 500% markup. Meanwhile, the restless Shunjiawan left behind a note and slipped away on her own. Elsewhere, Snake Tusheng strutted with swagger after extorting Tiger, humming smugly, "Oh, what a joyful day !" His men exchanged exasperated looks. One finally asked, "Boss, are you sure this is okay?" Snake Tusheng blinked, confused. The underling clarified, "Letting Tiger live. Won't that be a problem?" Snake Tusheng burst out laughing. "His men are dead. His backers gone. He's nothing now. Besides, we were just errand boys for the King of Hell. If they didn't finish him, why should we? Let the bosses play their little games. We just take the money and do the job." But before he could boast more, a cold voice cut through the air. "You lured ambushers onto my road home, waited for the bloodbath, then led the vultures to raid the loser's den. As a so-called honest informant, don't you think you owe me an explanation?" Snake Tusheng spun around, face draining of color when he saw Shunjiawan. He immediately pasted on a grin. "Sister Shun, you're here? I heard you were injured. Glad you're still with us." Shunjiawan shot back coldly. "Thanks to you, barely." Snake Tusheng forced a laugh. Now, didn't I warn you before the fight started?" Shunjiawan's eyes sharpened. "But you didn't mention someone sold those bastards armor-piercing rounds, did you?" Snake Tusheng sighed and dropped the act. "Iron Blossom Shunjiawan, what do you want? Spit it out." Shunjiawan smirked. "Relax. That glare doesn't suit a man who calls himself honest. I've got a deal to discuss." Snake Tusheng realized she wasn't here for revenge and asked cautiously, "What kind of deal?" Snake Tu Xiang knew he had little real leverage with Shun Jiawen, but he forced a smile. If it's intelligence you want to buy, my doors are always open. Shun Jiawen pinched his nose playfully, her grin sharp. Of course there's business. Today itself was a fine deal, wasn't it? Snake Tu Xiang winced from the pain. What do you mean by that? She stretched out her hand, eyes gleaming coldly. Here's the idea. You spread word, lure greedy fools in. I kill them, and you clean up the leftovers. Loot from the battlefield is mine, but I'll sell it to you at discount. As for the raid spoils, we split 60-40. Cold sweat trickled down Snake Tu Xiang and his men as they swallowed nervously. Before they could respond, Shun Jiawen added lazily, if you can't decide, ask your bosses. But if there's another slip-up like today, I'll cut your share. She waved a golden credit card in her hand. Snake Tu Xiang froze. When had she swiped his card? He had no idea. With no way out, he sighed. Fine, consider an apology gift. Shun Jiawen smirked. That's better. Here's to a pleasant partnership. Snake Tu Xiang could only watch awkwardly as she left. His men looked puzzled. They couldn't understand why. With so many ambushers in place, he hadn't stopped her. Snake Tu Xiang only sighed. You're too young. Did you not wonder why she dared to come here alone? The underling blinked in confusion, unaware that Shun Jiamei was already hidden in the shadows, ready to strike at any moment. Meanwhile, Song Chao woke from his genetic enhancement. Rising from bed, he felt lighter than ever. His abs bulged with muscle, and he could hardly believe the body was his own. As he admired his new strength, a sudden thought hit him. He yanked up the blanket to check if that had been enhanced too. Unfortunately, Shun Jiawen walked in at that exact moment, leaving her speechless. She broke the silence awkwardly. What are you doing? Song Chao jumped, scrambling to cover himself. Seeing him so flustered, Shun Jiawen blushed and muttered, I'll wait outside. Get dressed and come out. When Dr. Su heard Song Chao's first concern was his manhood, she burst into laughter. First time I've seen someone check there before anything else. Mortified, Song Chao covered his face. Please don't say that. Su chuckled and switched topics. All right, enough teasing. Clearly you've never seen enhancement serums before. Let me give you a crash course. Relieved, Song Chao finally lifted his head. Su explained, enhancement serums unlock physical potential. Low-grade ones boost senses, sight, smell, taste, hearing, plus reaction speed, muscle strength, and overall cognition. High-grade serums break genetic limits, pushing you into the superhuman realm. Bodies become unyielding, brains exponentially sharper, enough to face mutants head-on. Then there are ability serums. Not that you'll find any here, but if you ever meet an Esper, run, as far and as fast as you can. Song Chao tilted his head. Are Espers really that dangerous? The infirmary fell silent. Su's impression of his idiocy sank even lower. Shun Jiawen sighed from her seat. After all, Song Chao was technically her boss. She interjected, trying to ease the tension. She's exaggerating. No one in Linjiang Base has ever seen a real Esper. Su nodded softly. True enough. Song Chao scratched his head, still curious, wondering if he could ever reach that level of power. At last, he couldn't hold back and asked Su the prices of the serums, saying he wanted to buy a batch. Shun Jiawen was about to explain, but Dr. Su cut her off with a sharp smack. She didn't want her little scam against Song Chao being exposed. So she quickly covered, saying, Linjiang is just a small base. There are no high-tier or ability serums on the market. After experiencing the benefits of the cleansing serum, Song Chao thought about buying a batch to take back to the real world. Even though Linjiang had no such serums, he still wanted to gather intel. According to Shun Jiawen, a high-tier serum started at 10,000 credits. As for ability serums, though no one had ever seen one, the baseline was at least 100,000. She warned him not to dream too big. Even if they exist, you couldn't afford them. Song Chao, however, secretly thought 100,000 wasn't much, just a few truckloads of vegetables. But that was his secret to keep. As he was lost in thought, Shun Jiawen caught his look. Still thinking about serums? She teased. Startled, Song Chao snapped back, no, not at all. Seeing through him instantly, Shun Jiawen dismissed Dr. Su and her sister, wanting a private chat. Once they were gone, she leaned closer with a sly smile. Let me give you some advice. You're after high-tier and ability serums, aren't you? Song Chao admitted helplessly. Yeah, but there's nowhere to buy them. Shin Jiawen cut him off. Idiot. If there's no market, you make one. Song Chao froze, clueless about how that was even possible. She explained patiently. If you build a large enough force, territory, manpower, weapons, then whatever you want you'll get. Her words made sense, and Song Chao began to mull it over. But after a while, he frowned. I don't even know which faction I could join. I'm completely new here. Shin Jiawen cleared her throat. Well, you've got money. How about firepower? Why don't we start our own crew? Song Chao blinked, stunned. Wait, are you saying a partnership? I put up the cash, you expand the channels, and together we get whatever I need. Shin Jiawen's eyes lit up. Exactly. You're an outsider. Without backing, you'll be chewed up and spit out. With me, you'll have a real foothold. Shin Jiawen explained. Linjiang has 4 top leaders, each controlling one of the city's major factions. But after yesterday, the one backing the South is already finished. And those thugs who try to rob us? You saw what happened. No backers, no survival. Dozens wiped out in an instant, and then stabbed in the back. Pathetic. As for you, rich boy, without a reliable faction, you'll be stripped clean. Lucky for you, I know all the tricks. Stick with me, and you'll be fine. Song Chao nodded, admitting it made sense. Shun Jiawen noticed his hesitation and pressed eagerly. So you're planning to? Song Chao suddenly cut her off. Hold on. Didn't you two blow the food credits on snack stalls? And your gear before was ancient. Don't tell me you ate the entire budget. Even the contaminated food I brought the first time, you scarfed it all down without a second thought. If we're working together, I'm not letting you waste my supplies like that. His words hit home, leaving Shun Jiawen flustered. In his eyes, she was already branded as a glutton with 0 credit. But in this rotten world, the sisters were still the only ones he trusted. After a moment of thought, he sighed. Fine, let's do it. I'll back your team. Then he added sharply, but if you can't deliver, I'll pull my investment and find someone else. Hearing his agreement, Shun Jiawen grew serious. She extended her hand, sealing the deal. First, let me lay out the big picture. You'll need to know this when dealing with factions. Linjiang is divided into 5 areas. East, South, Center, and North each have their own leaders. The East is the hub for outside trade, biggest black market, tons of info brokers. The boss, there's a merchant called Fatty. He prefers money and secrets over fighting. The Center is where tech and heavy industry are concentrated. Its leader, nicknamed the General, is ex-military and runs things like a barracks. The South is overcrowded, crawling with slavers and bandits. The thugs who attacked us yesterday came from there. Their leader, Lone Wolf, was brutal, but after yesterday, he's history. The North is the hangout for mercs and thugs, with some info dealers mixed in. Their leader, King Yama, has beef with us. Best not to wander there. Song Chao groaned. Sounds like hell mode already. Then he asked, so what about the West? No leader. Shin Jiawen smirked proudly. That's my turf. Song Chao slow clapped. Wow, everyone else has armies, and you've got 2 people? Amazing. Shin Jiawen froze, mortified. That's complicated history. She quickly added, but the West has huge potential. Rich resources, ancient ruins. You can dig up treasures all the time. Song Chao raised a brow. And the downside? She admitted, monsters. Too many of them. Development's almost impossible, so nobody dares touch it. Song Chao frowned. Then why hasn't anyone just taken it from you? Shun Jiawen spread her hands. Didn't I say? Because it's mine. The next day, when Shun Jiamei heard her sister had partnered with Song Chao, she asked suspiciously, Sis, are we really teaming up with him? He's so weak. Shun Jiawen looked embarrassed and didn't know what to say. She could only mutter, Jiamei, shut up, please. I'm begging you. Meanwhile, Song Chao, unable to pay for the gene serum, was confronted by Su Jing. Don't tell me I wasted an entire night making this stuff, and now you're backing out? Song Chao flushed with guilt. After all, he was the one who had asked for it in the first place. Helpless, he explained, the credits I got from selling food, most of it was spent before I came here. As he spoke, his eyes darted toward Shun Jiawen. Su Jing caught the hint and turned her gaze to Shun Jiawen, clearly pushing the decision onto her. Shun Jiawen froze, confused why she suddenly had to decide. Su Jing said flatly, "If you vouch for him, I'll sell on credit. But the payback comes with 20% interest." Shun Jiawen nearly collapsed. "Your prices are already daylight robbery." Su Jing smirked. "Quality costs. Don't like it? Fine. I'll dump the serum right here, and you can leave empty-handed." Faced with her ruthless stance, Shun Jiawen had no choice but to become Song Chao's guarantor. With that, Su Jing tossed the serum straight at him. Song Chao caught it quickly. "Thanks. I'll pay you back as soon as I can." Then he left with the sisters, heading back toward the western base. Watching them leave, Su Jing thought this stagnant pool called Linjiang was about to be stirred. Back in the real world, Song Chao, too poor to buy much food, could only rely on Shun Jiawen to help him secure more gold in the apocalypse. Shun Jiawen, curious, asked, "Why does your base need so much gold?" Even Shun Jiamei complained, "Seriously? Why do you only want useless junk like that?" Song Chao explained helplessly, "Not useless. Besides gold, antiques and artwork also count. My base is rich. We don't lack food. We lack the things you all think are worthless." Shun Jiawen scratched her head. "It's just the three of us. Even if we find gold, how much can we haul back?" Song Chao panicked. "Then can we buy it from others?" Shun Jiawen gave him a look like he was an idiot. "Trade food for gold? I'd be laughed to death." She paused, then added seriously, "If you really want gold, there's only one way." Song Chao frowned, confused. "What way?" Scene cut. Shun Jiawen led Song Chao to a burly man. Seeing her, the man grinned. "Welcome, welcome," he added with a chuckle. "Didn't think the twin flowers of West City would finally come to support our business." Shun Jiawen ignored his flattery, coldly stating her demands. Curious, Song Chao whispered to Shun Jiamei, "What place is this?" Shun Jiamei sighed, unimpressed. "Slave market," she said bluntly, and stopped talking to him. At the transaction table, Shun Jiawen declared, "I want 12 people, 8 men for women, only fighters and skilled workers. And make sure they're equipped with the basics." 12 slaves meant big business. The boss happily agreed and quickly lined up candidates. After purchasing the batch, Shun Jiawen drove off with them, ready to start collecting gold. These new people would also serve as reserve members of the team she was building. Song Chao glanced at the slaves crammed in the vehicle. Not a word came from them. The silence was suffocating. He muttered in frustration, "So quiet." Shun Jiawen understood what he meant and replied flatly, "When life or death is uncertain, who has the mood to chat? That's what being a slave does to people." Song Chao leaned forward, asking, "Didn't you two always say you hated slaves?" Shun Jiawen gave a half-hearted nod. "Yeah, hated them, in every sense of the word." After that, the car sank back in a dead silence. As they neared their destination, Shun Jiawen finally said, "All right, we'll raid the residential block first. Once you trade for what you need, we'll cut these people loose." Song Chao frowned in disbelief. "You'd free slaves you just bought? That doesn't sound like you." Stung, Shun Jiawen shot back. "What's that supposed to mean?" Before Song Chao could answer, Shun Jiamei interrupted. "We're here." Outside, ruined buildings and abandoned cars lined the streets. It was clear they had arrived at their target. Shun Jiawen drove them back into the villa district. According to Shun Jiamei, after Song Chao left, they had searched the area again and stashed all the easy-to-find gold here. Under Shun Jiawen's command, the slaves filed out of the car and got to work. The men hauled crates, while the women gathered smaller valuables. Shun Jiawen shot Song Chao a glance. "Pick out what you want to take. Other than that, stay out of the way." Feeling unwanted, Song Chao sighed. "All right, I'll stay out of it." To speed things up, Shun Jiawen called out, "Do well, and there'll be rewards." But the slaves only sneered. So the twin flowers of West City use slaves too. What's the difference? In the end, we're still cannon fodder. Rewards? Don't make me laugh. Shun Jiawen's veins popped as she snapped. You think I'm talking nonsense? One slave spat on the ground. Aren't you? Shun Jiawen didn't flinch. What if the reward is freedom? Not only freedom, I'll even give you jobs. The slaves froze, staring in disbelief. You're kidding. Nobody believes that. Shun Jiawen smirked coldly. Nothing's free. I'll only ask once. Do you dare test me to see if I mean it? With that, she led them through the desolate villa district, scouring the place clean of gold. When the table was finally piled high with treasure, Song Chao's eyes lit up. Jackpot! In the apocalypse, treasures like these didn't mean much, but to Song Chao, they were worth a fortune. Seeing his excitement, Shun Jiawen told him she had already prepared a chest of gold bars, about 6 kilos. Song Chao's grin widened. 6 kilos of gold could fetch a small fortune. He asked what she wanted to eat, planning to bring it next time. Shun Jiamei's eyes sparkled immediately. She rattled off her cravings: beef, milk, eggs, sweets. Even Shun Jiawen, embarrassed at first, ended up admitting what she wanted too. Watching the sisters get carried away, Song Chao was speechless. Yep, confirmed, they were total foodies. After jotting everything down, Song Chao prepared to head back to the real world. Carrying the chest of gold that Shun Jiawen had readied for him, he said his goodbyes. As his figure disappeared, Shun Jiamei asked, Sis, aren't you going with him? Shun Jiawen shook her head. Forget it. He's our partner now. We should respect his privacy. Let's fulfill our promise and hand out the reward to the slaves. Shun Jiamei was stunned. Wait, you're actually serious about this? Shun Jiawen gave her a calm glance. If you doubt people, don't use them. If you use them, don't doubt them. With that, she led her sister into the hall. The slaves looked at them with mixed expressions. Shun Jiawen raised her voice. Here are your contracts, along with the codes to unlock your explosive collars. I'm keeping my word. But before that, I have a proposal to share. At once, every pair of eyes turned toward her, waiting to hear what she had to say. The slaves were stunned when Shun Jiawen announced she was forming an army. She looked over their shocked faces and said, Our names. You've probably heard of us, haven't you? The room filled with hushed whispers. In the Western District, the twin flowers of Xiqing, Shun Jiawen and Shun Jiamei, were infamous for surviving on their own, never relying on teams, and, above all, despising slaves. Catching on to their doubts, Shun Jiawen explained, I need to build a force to expand my business. You may be slaves, but every one of you has skills. Even non-combatants have talents that matter. I bought you not to chain you, but to trade freedom for a chance to make something of yourselves. One slave sneered in sudden realization. So that's it. If we don't agree, you'd never unlock the collars, right? Freedom or not, it's just a different kind of leash. Shun Jiawen chuckled at the jab, waving it off. Don't insult me so cheaply. My stance on slaves is well known in Linjiang. I don't go back on my word. With that, she tapped commands into the control panel. A crisp click echoed through the hall as every explosive collar snapped open. The freed slaves stared at the collars in disbelief, eyes wide with shock. Under their stunned gazes, Shun Jiawen turned away with Shun Jiamei. Before leaving, she tossed back a final line. Stay here for the night. Decide for yourselves if you'll join us. No one will force you. By morning, you're free to walk. As the sisters disappeared down the hall, the newly freed slaves showed their true faces. Some sneered, unwilling to play lackeys. Others muttered that they couldn't just leave empty-handed. Each carried their own schemes. Meanwhile, Shun Jiawen, who had just gambled on releasing them all, lay down and drifted into sleep without a trace of fear. A few treacherous slaves crept toward the bedroom. Seeing Shun Jiawen seemingly asleep, they smirked, thinking she was far too naive. Weapons in hand, the rebels crept closer, grinning as they raised their clubs. With a heavy swing, the club came crashing down toward her. Crack! Rang out, just as they thought they had her. The attacker froze, realizing something felt wrong. His face twisted in panic as he realized he'd been duped. The figure on the bed shimmered and dissolved. It was only a hologram. Before he could warn the others to retreat, Shun Jiawen blew his head apart with a single shot. Perched on a roof beam, she sneered, "You're so damn slow at robbing and killing. I almost fell asleep for real." On the other side, Shun Jiamei snatched a thug's weapon, scoffing, "Can't you idiots move any faster?" Downstairs, the rest of the rebels waited anxiously, sweat dripping as their plan unraveled. One slave named Lu Jin burst out laughing, mocking them. "Pathetic. You clowns can't even pull off a backstab." Humiliated, a rebel snarled, "Lu Jin, I'm warning you." But before he could finish, Shun Jiawen put a bullet through his skull. Meanwhile, Song Chao lugged a crate of gold back home. Glancing at his gear, he muttered to himself that showing up like this in the backyard would only bring trouble. With a sigh, he decided to change clothes and cover his tracks first. Inside, he told his father he had a new medicine that could treat tuberculosis. Worried his father might hesitate, he spun a story. "It's from my company. They already tested it on animals, and I managed to snag a few doses. I'll report the data back later. If it works, we're set." His father frowned. "So, you're using me as a guinea pig?" Song Chao scratched his head with an awkward grin. "Of course not. This stuff is insanely expensive. If I didn't pull strings, we'd never get a chance to try it." He then injected the serum into his father. After stretching his arms, the old man felt better and called out, "Chaozi." Song Chao turned back, puzzled. His father said firmly, "I won't interfere with what you're doing out there. Just don't lose your conscience." Song Chao nodded. "Don't worry, Dad. I know where the line is. I'll get back to work now." The scene shifted. Song Chao walked into Zhou's antique shop. He set a box on the counter, and Zhou's eyes widened. "Wait, is this gold?" Song Chao nodded. "6 bars in total." "Boss Zhou, name your price." Zhou squinted at him. "These bars, they haven't been tampered with, have they?" Song Chao replied calmly, "No, I brought them straight here." Zhou frowned. The bars had no serial numbers, but Song Chao didn't look like he was lying. After a pause, Zhou finally said, "All right, I'll take them, but the best I can give you is 250 per gram." Song Chao blinked. "Huh? Why so low?" Zhou leaned back with a shrug. "Gold jewelry or art pieces are easy to move. Gold bars? Not so much. I'll need to grease a few palms just to sell them off. Think of it as my handling fee." He transferred the money right away. Checking his phone, Song Chao sighed. Who would have thought plain gold bars would be harder to sell? A profit was a profit, but next time he'd stick to antiques and artwork. He looked up suddenly. "By the way, Boss Zhou, know anywhere I can buy a car?" Zhou chuckled. "A car? In this small town, options are limited. But if you're serious, I've got a place to recommend." He slid a car show car across the counter. After Song Chao left, Zhou sat back uneasily and ran a quick search on the bars. No records of theft, no traceable origin, no serial numbers, and clearly not homemade. Zhou leaned back in his chair, troubled. "Song Chao, should I even do business with you again?" Meanwhile, Song Chao arrived at an upscale club. 567. To his shock, someone was brazenly trying to mess with his sister right in front of him. His eyes burned with fury as he demanded, "Song Wenxiu, answer me. What the hell is going on here?" The thug turned his head and sneered. "Who the hell do you think you are?" Song Wenxiu cried out in shock. "Brother, what are you doing here?" The man smirked. "Oh, so you're the brother-in-law. Perfect timing." With a snap of his fingers, he ordered, "Stand right there and watch how we discipline your sister." Wenxiu's face went pale. "Brother, call the police now." The thug scoffed. "Police? Don't be stupid. Just stand still," and before he could finish, a fist the size of a sandbag came crashing toward him. Bam! The impact shook the room. The blonde punk spat blood and collapsed to the floor. Both the rich kid and Wenxiu froze in shock. 2 more thugs lunged at Song Chao, but to him, their movements were as slow as snails. They thought, "Is this guy mocking us?" A blur, Song Chao's fist slammed into the bald thug's stomach. He followed up with a brutal elbow strike. Both men hit the ground, groaning in pain, completely defeated. Song Chao glared, his voice cold with fury. "What was it you said just now? I didn't quite catch that." The killing intent in his eyes made the rich kid shrink back. too terrified to speak. By the time things settled, the sky outside was already tinged with dusk. The siblings walked side by side along the town's road. Winshio finally broke the silence. Song Chao, since when did you get this strong? You just took down 6 or 7 guys like it was nothing. Did dropping out of school somehow come with combat lessons? Song Chao groaned, rubbing his temple. And you, pulling out a recorder in the middle of that mess? For a second, I thought you teamed up with those idiots to set me up. Why on earth are you carrying that thing around? Winshio stuck out her tongue playfully. Well, duh. A girl's got to know how to protect herself. Song Chao snapped. If you were afraid of danger, you shouldn't have agreed in the first place. What? Were you planning some honey trap scam? Winshio pouted and turned her head, humming a tune. In no way. I wasn't planning that. Song Chao frowned. Hey, look me in the eyes and say that. Meeting his gaze, Winshio fidgeted nervously. Actually, I agreed to come because I was ready to start dating him. Song Chao froze, completely caught off guard. Winshio lowered her voice. The family's in debt, and I'm not getting any younger. He doesn't look that bad. I figured I wouldn't lose out. At least you wouldn't have to run yourself ragged, and you could go back to finish college. Song Chao stared at his sister, speechless. So if that guy hadn't slipped up, he would have become my brother-in-law? Back home, he injected the strengthening serum into Winshio. She immediately asked where he had gotten it from. Song Chao brushed it off with an excuse, assuring her it had been clinically tested and was perfectly safe. Just then, his phone buzzed, a message about a high school reunion. The next day, as soon as Song Chao stepped into the hall, Miao Qing sneered. Well, if it isn't Song Chao? Still looking dirt poor, huh? Song Chao shot back. And you're still short as ever. Miao Qing's face twisted with rage. What the hell did you just say? Before things escalated, another classmate stepped in, grinning. Yo, Song Chao. Didn't expect you here. Long time no see. Come on. You missed so many reunions. You owe us 3 drinks right now. He slung an arm around Song Chao and pulled him away. Miao Qing glared daggers at Song Chao, muttering, just a broke loser acting tough. Suddenly, Meng Yuezhu walked into the room. Miao Qing's eyes lit up. He rushed over with a fake smile. Yuezhu, welcome. Meng Yuezhu nodded politely. Long time no see. Was that Song Chao just now? Seizing the chance, Miao Qing sneered. Yeah, that's him. Dirt poor and still putting on airs. But he doesn't even have a job lined up. Meng Yuezhu's brows knitted together. Talking behind a classmate's back isn't exactly decent behavior. Miao Qing panicked, forcing a smile. You're right. I'll watch my mouth. At that moment, a girl rushed over, grabbing Yuezhu's hand. Yuezhu, come on. Everyone's waiting for you. As he watched her walk away, Miao Qing's eyes gleamed with greedy desire. Meng Yuezhu, daughter of the chairman of Meng Tech, had both brains and beauty. Elegant, cold-tempered, top of her class. She was already being groomed as the next head of the family company. Plenty of guys at the reunion had the same thought. If I can win her over tonight, I'll skip years of hard work. Across the room, Yuezhu set down her glass and asked casually, does anyone know how Song Chao's doing lately? Someone shrugged. Song Chao heard his family went broke. Couldn't afford tuition, so he dropped out. Xiao Xian immediately teased. What's this? The corporate princess going for a broke boy? Sounds like a drama. Yuezhu turned her head, replying flatly, don't be ridiculous. Still, in her heart, she muttered, strange. I'm sure I saw him drive in with a pretty expensive car. She sighed inwardly. Forget it. Not my business. Better focus on finding someone useful for the company. She asked Xiao Xian, have you ever worked on any major biotech projects? He shook his head. She questioned a few more classmates, but they all admitted they had no such experience. Most were still just scrambling for internships. Yuezhu felt disappointed. Of course, none of us are even seniors yet. No thesis, no projects. Expecting to find talent here was naive. She decided she'd grab a quick bite and leave early. Meanwhile, Miao Qing swaggered over with a glass of wine. Song Chao, come on, drink with us. Song Chao shook his head. No, I drove here. Miao Qing pressed harder. Don't be boring. Relax. Even if you get drunk, nobody's gonna laugh at you. Inside, he smirked. Perfect, Yueju's watching. Time to show off. To him, Song Chao might be poor, but he still had status in the class. If he could beat him at drinking, Yueju would notice him for sure. He added with a grin, no worries. If you get drunk, I'll make sure you get home safe. Song Chao sighed and lifted his glass. Miao Qing gloated inwardly. Already popped a hangover pill. Can't wait to see you make a fool of yourself while I shine. But after just a few rounds, it was Miao Qing who keeled over and vomited on the spot. The crowd erupted. Damn, Song Chao, didn't know you could hold your liquor like that. Song Chao waved it off calmly. Just something I picked up while working out there. Song Chao thought to himself. Not even a hint of drunkenness. Is this the effect of the gene serum? By now, Miao Qing was completely wasted. He threw his head back and roared. It's not fair. He jabbed a finger at Song Chao. Why is it that everyone likes you, but nobody likes me? Song Chao frowned. Miao Qing, I don't recall ever offending you. Red-faced, Miao Qing barked. It's your smug attitude. You're just a broke nobody. You should be groveling, not acting superior. A few classmates hurried forward to drag him away. Come on, Miao, that's enough. Let's get you to the restroom before you throw up all over the place. At that moment, Meng Yueju's phone buzzed. She glanced down. It was her father calling. Strange. Didn't I tell him I'd be at the reunion tonight? Why call now? She waved at Xiao Xian, signaling she needed to step out. Picking up, she said softly, Dad, what is it? Her father's voice was grim. Find somewhere quiet. I need to tell you something important. Soon after, Yueju slipped into the restroom. Lowering her voice, she asked, Okay, what happened? Yueju, her father sighed, stay calm. The board has decided to cut the research project you're in charge of. The words left her stunned. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Why? Did something go wrong? Exactly, he replied. The company's cash flow is in trouble. We can't keep pouring money into your lab with no results. The board is furious. I can't hold them back any longer. When Yueju walked back out, her face looked pale and drawn, the weight of her collapsing project heavy on her mind. Passing by, Song Chao accidentally overheard just enough to piece things together. Gene serums, he thought to himself. The moment Yueju stepped out, Miao Qing blocked her path, shoving a glass toward her. Drink this. She shook her head. No, I have to get back to the company later. Before she could finish, Miao Qing barked at her. Quit the excuses. Bottoms up. Miao Qing, reeking of alcohol, sneered. What's wrong, princess? Too good to drink with me. Meng Yueju's lips twitched in irritation at his words. Xiao Xian snapped. Hey, show some respect, you drunk fool. Other classmates quickly stepped in, trying to calm Miao Qing down. Yueju thought bitterly, seriously? Why am I wasting my time dealing with this drunk idiot? But Miao Qing shoved everyone aside and roared, out of my way. She's drinking this whether she likes it or not. Just as Yueju was about to explode, Song Chao stepped forward and restrained him. Leaning close, Song Chao whispered, Can we talk? It's about gene products. Yueju froze for a moment. Then she quickly composed herself, turned to Xiao Xian, and excused herself. Watching them leave, Miao Qing's face twisted with rage. Damn it! That broke loser dares steal my moment in front of Yueju? I'll make him pay. In the parking garage, Yueju finally spoke. Thanks for stepping in. She hesitated, then added softly, You did it just to help me, didn't you? A faint smile crossed her face. Anyway, go back and enjoy the party. I'll head off first. But Song Chao shook his head, looking serious. No, I actually have something I need to talk to you about. Meng Yueju frowned in confusion. What is it? Song Chao hesitated, then stammered, I've been working part-time at a friend's company. They're doing research on gene serums, and, well, they already have a prototype. He scratched his head awkwardly. Sorry, I overheard your call earlier. I just wanted to ask, would you be interested in taking a look at the sample? Yueju froze, her body trembling with anger. What did you just say? Her voice turned icy. I appreciate what you did back there, and I won't press you for eavesdropping, but don't you dare insult biological research. Caught off guard, Song Chao waved his hands nervously. No, wait, that's not what I meant. Yuezhu cut him off sharply. Do you have any idea what gene research really means? It requires laboratories worth tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars, the best scientists in the world working day and night, pouring their lives into it, only to sometimes prove it's a dead end. Every year, billions are burned with no guaranteed results. She glared at him. And you're telling me some back-alley private lab cooked up a gene serum, and you expect me to take that seriously? Her emotions slipped out of control. Striding past him, she muttered coldly, "Thanks for the offer. If I'm ever interested, I'll reach out to you." By the time Song Chao snapped out of it, Yuezhu had already opened her car door and slid inside. The engine roared to life, and her car sped away into the night. Song Chao felt a wave of frustration. How did that fall apart so fast? Did I say something wrong? He gritted his teeth. She didn't even leave me a number or a card, just tossed out "I'll call you." That's basically saying she doesn't believe me. But damn it, I really do have the goods. The next day, with Boss Zhou's help, Song Chao managed to purchase a large haul of supplies. Back home, he sat his father and younger sister down. "My friend's out money. I've been helping him out, and he gave me a startup fund. I bought a supermarket. From now on, you two can help manage it. Dad, you won't have to break your back in the mines anymore." He then asked his sister to pick out some fresh vegetables and meat to deliver to Boss Zhou as a token of thanks. She frowned. "Are you sure it's okay to send just this?" Song Chao chuckled. "Don't worry. We don't have much else but fresh produce. That'll never go wrong." With that, he hefted an entire crate of vegetables onto his shoulder like it weighed nothing. His sister's eyes widened. So much food, yet he didn't even break a sweat. Song Chao thought to himself, "Dad's complexion looks better already. His body's clearly recovering. This gene serum is scary effective." After saying goodbye to his family, he loaded the supplies into his car and drove out to the outskirts. Twisting the ring on his finger, a massive vortex tore open in the sky. In the blink of an eye, both man and vehicle vanished from sight. On a desolate road in the apocalypse, a streak of lightning cracked through the silence. A thunder sprite materialized, crackling with static. Then boom, a heavy off-road vehicle flashed into existence, slamming down onto the asphalt. The SUV, still carrying the momentum from its sudden teleportation, went into a wild, uncontrolled sprint down the road. Song Chao gripped the steering wheel with all his strength, fighting to steady the vehicle. The momentum gradually bled off, and at last the SUV screeched to a halt. He slumped over the wheel, panting hard. What started as a crazy test to see if the car could enter the wasteland had actually worked. Regaining his composure, he jumped out to check whether the supplies inside had made it through. To his relief, nothing was missing. That meant he could now haul even more goods between worlds. What he didn't notice was the mutated beast lurking in the shadows, its eyes fixed hungrily on him. While Song Chao debated whether to swap into his armor before meeting up with Shunjiaoan, the creature above him drooled, inching closer. A string of saliva dropped onto his protective suit. His instincts screamed danger. Without hesitation, he yanked out his firearm, aiming upward. The beast finally snapped, lunging down at him. Song Chao leaned back and fired. A sharp bang echoed, and the monster crashed to the ground. Looking at the corpse, he smirked. "Guess I got talent. One shot, one kill." But before his pride could settle, a loud metallic clang came from above. A steel plate tumbled down, marked with fresh bullet holes. Song Chao's face stiffened. He realized it wasn't his shot that killed the beast. A voice confirmed it. "You all right? Don't wander around out here." It was Lu Jin from Shun Jiaoan's team. Lu Jin blinked in surprise when he recognized him. "Wait, you? The logistics guy? What the hell are you doing here?" Since Song Chao had brought far too much food, the two could only split a small portion each and head toward temporary base. According to Lu Jin, the base was about 30 minutes away, with swarms of monsters along the path. Driving was out of the question. They'd have to carry supplies by hand and send for reinforcements later. Song Chao, however, couldn't stop glancing back at his SUV. "You sure leaving the car here won't be a problem?" Mistaking his worry as being about the food, Lu Jin reassured him, "Relax. Mutants don't care about dead objects. The supplies will be fine." Even though Lu Jin reassured him, Song Chao still felt uneasy. That SUV was brand new, and leaving it out here in a wasteland crawling with monsters didn't sit right with him. As they walked, Lu Jin kept glancing back at the vehicle, curiosity brimming. In a world like this, where do you dig up that antique? No armor, no weapons, yet you managed to haul back a mountain of supplies. You really live up to the title of logistics chief. Song Chao froze at the compliment, but chose not to reply. Deep down, he knew what they really meant. Logistics chief was just a polite way of saying they saw him as a cash cow. When silence lingered, Lu Jin changed the subject, rambling on, "Good thing you came back when you did. Another 2 days, and we'd be forced to relocate." Song Chao immediately pressed, "Relocate? What happened?" Lu Jin scratched his head. "Not sure myself. Boss said it looks like a corpse tide is about to hit. When that happens, thousands of mutants swarm in. Not just regular zombies. There'll be advanced monsters, maybe even ghouls the size of buildings." Song Chao listened, utterly lost. He wasn't from this world, and half those names meant nothing to him. Talking as they walked, the two soon reached their destination. Lu Jin pointed ahead. "There, that's our new base." Waiting at the entrance was Shun Jiawen, already expecting them. She crossed her arms, smirking. Well, two handsome guys arriving together. "Need a tour guide?" Song Chao flushed with embarrassment and forced a smile. "Wouldn't dare refuse, boss." Leading him inside, Shun Jiawen teased, "Didn't expect you to return with Lu Jin. You got a knack for showing up at the strangest times." Her eyes gleamed mischievously. "So, did you bring me a gift this time?" Song Chao sighed at the foodie look on her face. "Just wait till you open the crates. Trust me, you'll be pleasantly surprised." Song Chao deliberately kept quiet, selling the suspense. Lu Jin couldn't help but laugh and flatter Shin Jiawen. "Boss, you've really got an eye." When he pulled that stuff out, I was completely stunned. Shin Jiawen raised a brow in surprise, glancing at Song Chao with a teasing smile. "Well then, I'll be looking forward to it with gratitude." She led the group forward, making small talk along the way. Out of nowhere, Song Chao asked, "By the way, what's with that logistics chief title you guys stuck me with?" Shun Jiawen shrugged. "Simple. You're the only one who can haul in supplies like that. Giving you an officer's badge is only fair." Song Chao curled his lip. "Sounds more like you're treating me as your personal cash cow." Shun Jiawen didn't even deny it. "Oh, quit whining. You should be grateful. Jia Mei originally wanted to call the logistics group the Leaks." Song Chao almost choked. In his head, a herd of wild horses stampeded past. What kind of malicious name was that? When he asked about the Warband's official name, Lu Jin's face instantly stiffened. He even dropped the crate he was carrying with a loud thud. Both Shen Jiawen and Song Chao turned to stare. Lu Jin whistled innocently, pretending nothing happened. Shen Jiawen narrowed her eyes like a predator. "What? Got a problem with the name I picked?" Lu Jin jolted upright, blurting, "Nope, not at all." Song Chao could only sigh internally. Just what kind of ridiculous name had she chosen? Before he could dwell on it, Shun Jiawen led him into their new base. On patrol, Shun Jiamei spotted him and gasped, "Song Chao, you're back." Overjoyed, she sprinted straight at him. "Brother Chao, welcome home." Song Chao's mouth twitched in embarrassment. Reflexively sidestepping, he let her crash straight to the ground. Accepting her over-the-top enthusiasm was the last thing he wanted. Pushing herself up, Jiang Mei pouted. "Brother Chao, you're so mean." Song Chao just gave a helpless laugh. He knew full well the foodie only acted this way when there was a meal involved. As his eyes swept across the group, a question gnawed at him. Why did it feel like there were fewer people here than when he left? Before he could figure it out, Shun Jiawen called out brightly, "Come on, let me introduce your comrades. And by the way, welcome back to the flower shop." Once the introductions wrapped up, Song Chao busied himself with the hot pot. The rich aroma filled the room, and everyone gathered around, eyes gleaming with anticipation. As soon as Song Chao said, "Let's eat," Everyone dove in. Between mouthfuls, they marveled. Unbelievable! To taste something this good in our lifetime. I can die happy now. Lu Jin was so overwhelmed, he actually teared up. This is what real food is supposed to taste like. A spiky-haired guy smacked Song Chao on the shoulder, grinning ear to ear. Logistics boss, you're incredible. From now on, I'm yours. Point me at someone, and I'll smash him for you. Overwhelmed by the flood of enthusiasm, Song Chao bolted from the room. Only when he reached Shun Jiawen did he finally breathe easy. Shun Jiawen, happily savoring her meal, paused when she saw him rushing over. "Oh, welcome, honored guest," she said with a smirk. Seeing how much she was enjoying herself, Song Chao rolled his eyes. "You guys are way too much. It's like you've never eaten before." Shun Jiawen shrugged, completely unashamed. "That's because we really haven't. You're the first idiot I've ever seen share something this precious." Song Chao sighed helplessly. "Did I do something wrong? Why do you have to single me out like this?" Shun Jiawen nibbled at her finger, smiling slyly. "Not at all. In times like these, a good meal is the best morale booster." Song Chao frowned. "Times like these? You mean what Lu Jin said about the mutant beasts acting up?" Shun Jiawen nodded. "Exactly. The calm before the storm." Her tone grew serious. "Our defenses can handle the odd mutant or two. But once the horde comes, there's no holding them back." She continued. "And once they gather, they usually ignore anything inedible. That's why, before a beast tide, we always evacuate to Linjiang base. Since you're here, it's time to move." Song Chao still didn't get it. "Why the rush?" Shun Jiawen pointed outside, her face hardening. "At most 2 days, this whole place will be swallowed by the horde. Right now, it's already brewing." She added calmly, "Honestly, we only stayed this long to wait for your news. Now that you've shown up, there's no reason to linger." With the beast tide looming, Shun Jiawen ordered everyone to evacuate to Linjiang base. But Song Chao suddenly reminded them. The food he brought back was only a fraction. The rest was still in his car. The moment the others heard this, their eyes lit up with shock and hunger. Shun Jiamei nearly drooled. "What are we waiting for? Let's grab those supplies." Even Huang Mao shouted, "Yeah, we're taking our food back." Shun Jiawen glanced at the group, utterly speechless. Should I call you guys transparent? Or just honest about your desires? But with Shun Jiamei begging at her side, she finally sighed and began rallying the team. Shun Jiawen, Lu Jin, Ruila, and Huang Mao formed the assault squad. Mai Jia, Mi Meyer, and Shun Jiamei provided fire support. As for Song Chao, Shun Jiawen dumped him into logistics without hesitation. He looked at his teammates with despair. Fei Shua, a clerk who only knew paperwork and planning. Alina, a doctor in charge of medical aid. Kona, the cook, responsible for meals. And himself, who could only supply food, together the perfect non-combat unit. Song Chao nearly broke down. The team pushed forward and soon reached the site. Shun Jiawen stared ahead, her face darkening. Lu Jin sighed. "As much as I hate to say it, this is the place." They dragged Song Chao out of the transport. Looking puzzled, he asked, "What's going on?" Shun Jiawen simply pointed. His parking spot was now swarming with monsters. Huge and small mutant beasts packed the street. Still, if they were here, the car and supplies had to be reclaimed. Through her earpiece, Shun Jiawen gave a sharp command. "Showtime. Our mission is to pull out Song Chao's cargo and vehicle, then retreat. First, we clear the pests in front of us." To reclaim the supplies, Shun Jiamei fired the first shot at the wandering mutants. The cannon roared. Flames lit the night. The beasts froze in confusion. A shell slammed straight into one skull. Boom! The massive creature exploded and collapsed in the fire. Shun Jiawen instantly ordered the assault squad to charge. Song Chao stood frozen, utterly overwhelmed. His eyes widened in horror as waves of mutant beasts surged toward them. The first wave of mutant beasts crashed into Lu Jin's squad head-on. Raising his heavy shield, Lu Jin roared, "Die!" and slammed it down, crushing a mutant hound into the ground with a bone-cracking thud. But just as he dealt with one, Another beast lunged at him from behind. By the time he turned, it was already too late. Fortunately, backup came in time. Ruela stepped in, blade gleaming, eyes sharp as ice. With a swift slash, she split the charging beast clean in half. Lu Jin, catching his breath, shouted his thanks. A hulking mid-tier Forsaken lumbered toward them, its aura heavy and oppressive. Lu Jin warned, "Careful, this one's tough." Ruela spun her blade casually and replied, "Not tough enough to stop me." Her sword flashed again and again. Within seconds, the creature collapsed in pieces. More Forsaken began to gather, closing in from every side. Ruela's expression hardened, grip tightening on her weapon. Suddenly, a deafening boom tore through the street, reducing an entire cluster of monsters to ashes. Lu Jin flinched, cursing under his breath. "Damn, what if that hit us?" Ruela wiped cold sweat off her brow and muttered, "Guess the little boss trusts his aim a bit too much." To buy time for Song Chao, Lu Jin barked, "Keep pushing, gladiator." "You good?" Ruela smirked, her tone dripping with disdain. "More than good, shield boy." Meanwhile, Song Chao slipped into the warehouse with Shun Jiawen and Huang Mao. They held their breath, eyes locked on the shadows ahead. Shun Jiawen whispered, "That your car?" Song Chao's stomach dropped. Mutant beasts were tearing into it like a chew toy. He clenched his jaw. "Yeah, that's mine." Shun Jiawen wasted no time, snapping orders. "Huang Mao, take him and grab the car. I'll cover." Huang Mao grinned wide, cocky as ever. "No problem. Logistics boss, just stick to me." Without waiting, he raised his gun and sprinted straight toward the vehicle. Over his shoulder, he yelled, "Move it, logistics boss." The beasts circling the car snarled, finally noticing the intruders. Huang Mao bellowed, "Back off." "That's ours," and unleashed a hail of bullets, muzzle flashing as the monsters reeled under the gunfire. Gunfire roared as mutant beasts dropped one after another under the hail of bullets. With Huang Mao's suppressive fire clearing the way, he and Song Chao dashed to the car. Still shooting, Huang Mao bellowed, "Logistics boss, get that engine running." Song Chao yanked the door open. He dove into the driver's seat. But before he could even turn the key, a mutant beast lunged through the window with a snarl. Terrified, Song Chao fired wildly, but every shot went wide. Just as the beast's claws were about to tear into him, a searing laser beam split it clean in half. Shin Jiawen's cover fire arrived right on time. Huang Mao's urgent shouts rang in his ears. Finally, Song Chao managed to ignite the engine. With a thunderous roar, the SUV surged forward, plowing through the beasts and breaking the encirclement. He sped straight toward Shun Jiawen's position. Song Chao was about to hit the brakes to let her climb in, but she barked, "Don't stop! Keep driving!" Both he and Huang Mao gawked at her in disbelief. Shun Jiawen leapt effortlessly, landing squarely on the roof of the moving vehicle. Without missing a beat, she opened fire, mowing down the pack, chasing from behind. Between gunshots, she issued crisp orders through her earpiece. "Objective secured. All squads disengage now. Jiamei, I'm sending you my coordinates. Blow me a path through those ruins. Everyone else, get on board. We're heading to Linjiang." Song Chao nearly choked on his breath. Blow open a road? Did I hear that right? An instant later, explosions ripped through the air, shattering the ruins ahead into rubble and carving out a clear passage. Shun Jiamei had executed flawlessly. Song Chao slammed the gas, heart pounding, driving his precious SUV straight through the firestorm. Once they burst free of the beast horde, Shun Jiawen pointed ahead and declared, "All right, we move out. Linjiang base." With the mission complete and the supplies secured, the team, under Shun Jiawen's command, finally reached Linjiang base, where Dr. Su was waiting. Dr. Su eyed Shun Jiawen suspiciously. "Don't tell me you're moving your entire base back to Linjiang?" Shun Jiawen waved it off. "Of course not. The beast tide's coming, that's all. We just need a temporary roof over our heads. I'm not stupid enough to go bankrupt fighting the wave head on. Think of this as borrowing your place for a while." Dr. Su frowned. "This is a private clinic, not some roadside inn. Shun Jiawen smirked, reading her perfectly. Fine. 1 crate of supplies. Dr. Su's eyes lit up. Meat and eggs. I want those. With her demands met, her tone flipped instantly. Deal. 1 crate buys you a month here. And she pointed toward the battered SUV in the corner. And that wreck over there, what's its story? Song Chao was crouched beside it like a widower at a funeral, staring at his mangled ride as if the world had ended. His face was twisted with grief, eyes brimming. Shun Jiawen sighed and tried to console him. Come on, it's just a collector's car. A few scratches for monsters. Hardly the end of the world. That was the last straw. Song Chao exploded, his voice cracking with rage. You don't get it. That 1 car is worth more than 10,000 truckloads of food. Hearing how insanely valuable that car really was, Shun Jiawen froze as if struck by lightning. A moment later, she crouched down beside Song Chao, both of them drowning in the same wave of despair. Watching this ridiculous scene, Dr. Su sighed and cut straight to business. Are you absolutely sure about this so-called beast tide? No one else has reported a single sign of it. Shun Jiawen snapped her head around, eyes blazing. Question me? I'm Shun Jiawen. Out here in the West District, every leaf and every shadow is under my watch. The second a mutant beast twitches, I know exactly what it's planning. The tide is coming. Doubt me, and you'll pay the price. Faced with her ironclad certainty, Dr. Su could only exhale softly. 180. She pulled out a tablet and handed it over. Fine. The intel brokers passed me a message. All the major leaders in the city are gathering. They want to hear your take on the beast tide. Shun Jiawen scrolled through the info while calling out to Song Chao. He, however, grumbled impatiently. What now? Without hesitation, she smacked him on the head with the tablet. Quit whining. You're coming with me to the meeting tomorrow. Time to introduce our crew, stake out our territory, and meet the real power players. As for your precious car, hand it to Mimir, see if he can fix it. Dr. Su sneered. Sounds impressive. You sure you're ready? Shun Jiawen gave an awkward shrug. No choice. I've got to show face first. Some of those big shots aren't ones I can just muscle through. The next day, Song Chao followed her to a towering building downtown. He frowned. Wait, I thought this was supposed to be a group meeting. Why are we here? Shun Jiawen shot him a withering look. Because before the main show, we need a little private agreement with Yin Wang. Song Chao grew even more puzzled. Wait, didn't you say you had a grudge against her? Shun Jiawen's face darkened. Her tone carried a trace of gloom and reluctance. Yeah, there's some bad blood. With that, she led him into the high-rise building, the air inside heavy with tension. A secretary who had been waiting stepped forward. Lady Shun Jiawen, the minister is expecting you. I never thought you'd dare show up here in person. Shun Jiawen gave a cold snort, replying sharply. Long time no see, Mi Bo. I'm not here to stir up trouble. Settling things with Yin Wang first will save everyone a lot of hassle. Mi Bo nodded slightly and gestured politely. This way, please. Song Chao, noticing nothing unusual in the man's attitude, leaned close and whispered, You two don't seem all that hostile, actually. Shun Jiawen's lips twitched. His question was downright infuriating, but she still muttered, In some ways, she counts as an ally. Song Chao was more confused than ever, unable to figure out if Yin Wang was friend or foe. Led by Mi Bo, the two soon entered the minister's office. The figure inside, with her back turned, recognized Shun Jiawen's footsteps instantly. To Song Chao's shock, the infamous Yin Wang was actually a woman. What stunned him even more was her reaction. Her body trembled violently as she whispered Shun Jiawen's name again and again. Then, under Song Chao's bewildered gaze and Mi Bo's warning look, Yin Wang suddenly snapped, lunging at Shun Jiawen like a possessed beast. Yin Wang's eyes glazed over, drool dripping down her chin as she stared at Shun Jiawen. It's been too long. Come here, let me give you a kiss. Before she could finish, Shun Jiawen's boot shot up and smashed right into her jaw. Yin Wang went flying, yet her expression twisted into pure bliss, as if she enjoyed it. Mi Bo grimaced and quickly shifted into a fighting stance. To everyone's shock, he actually used Tai Chi techniques against his own boss to restrain her madness. Song Chao was completely dumbfounded. What the hell is happening? Did I walk into a circus? Yin Wang's subordinates rushed forward, desperately holding her back while shouting, "Enough, Yin Wang. Minister, calm down. Please stop losing it every time you see her in person." Struggling wildly, Yin Wang screamed at the top of her lungs, "Let me go. Just one kiss, Shun Jiawen." Shun Jiawen's face darkened, utterly speechless at the insanity before her. Mi Bo, meanwhile, looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. His boss's humiliation was beyond saving. Finally, Yin Wang was restrained by sheer force, preventing the scene from spiraling completely out of control. Shun Jiawen sighed and turned to Song Chao, giving a reluctant explanation. Her name is Ruo Lin, half-blood, minister of the so-called Population Census Department, which controls the entire northern sector of Linjiang. Her job? Regulating population density, and yes, that includes violent purges. Her subordinates are mercenaries, thugs, and black market spies. That's why people call her the Yin Wang of the Hells. And worst of all, Shun Jiawen's lip curled in disgust. She's a lunatic, a perverted lesbian with zero self-control. Shun Jiawen's patience snapped. "I didn't come here to watch your circus act. Can we get to the point?" Hearing the shift in tone, Yin Wang's playful demeanor vanished, replaced by a sharp seriousness. With a sudden burst of power, she snapped the restraints like they were paper. In the blink of an eye, she appeared right in front of Song Chao and Shun Jiawen. A wicked smile curled across her lips. "My beloved childhood friend, what is it you want to tell me?" Shun Jiawen remained seated on the couch, gaze cold and unwavering. "About the beast tide. At the meeting this afternoon, don't you dare try to derail me." Yin Wang, the crazed fangirl moments ago, now spoke with a chilling calm. "Relax. I have to take responsibility for this city too, don't I? But aside from you, not a single faction, not even the mercenaries in the West, has reported anything about a beast tide." Her words carried the weight of doubt. Shun Jiawen's reply was ice cold, her tone cutting. "I'll explain at the meeting. But make no mistake, the beast tide is coming, and it will be massive." Yin Wang studied her, the corner of her mouth quirking upward in a helpless grin. Still the same as ever, overflowing with confidence. "So, was that the only reason you came here?" Shun Jiawen's eyes sharpened, knowing she'd been seen through. She spoke plainly. "The open market here only sells second-tier gear. But I know the South District used to have special rounds that could pierce it. If anyone can get them, it's you. I need to arm my squad." Yin Wang rested her chin on her hand, eyes glinting with mischief. "Sure, we can make a deal. But do you even have the money?" If this had been before, Shun Jiawen would have been broke. But now, she smirked with quiet pride. Tugging Song Chao forward, she introduced him with no hesitation. "This is the flower shop's logistics officer, my business partner, Song Chao." Caught off guard, Song Chao scratched his head awkwardly and stood up to introduce himself. Shun Jiawen folded her arms, smug. "He's sitting on plenty of rare goods. The quantity may not be massive each time, but the quality? Top-notch." Yin Wang's eyes narrowed in doubt. Then a sly smile spread across her face. "Fine then. I'll be waiting to see it for myself." Mi Bo immediately added, "If we're trading, we'll need a supply and demand list in advance." Shun Jiawen's lips curled in a thin smile. "No problem. Consider it settled for now." As she turned to leave, she tossed back coldly. "The rest, we'll discuss at the meeting this afternoon." Once Shun Jiawen and Song Chao left, Mi Bo leaned toward Yin Wang. "If we give her that equipment pipeline, doesn't that mean we'll lose any chance of touching West District again?" Yin Wang gazed out at the city skyline, her tone casual yet resolute. "Doesn't matter. No faction will ever allow West District to fall into someone else's hands." A faint smile tugged at her lips. "Besides, Shun Jiawen already rules the West. Trying to wrest territory from her would only end in blood. Cooperation is cheaper." By afternoon, the council had convened. Leaders from every major power appeared via holographic projection, The beast tide, the only topic on the table. Yin Wang opened the session. Let's vote. Do we trust Shen Jiaowen's judgment on this beast tide or not? Wei Yun from the Linjiang security group was the first to object. I get that you want to back her up, but right now, there's no sign of a beast tide on the outskirts. The head of the intelligence house followed immediately. Exactly. We've received no abnormal reports at all. Shen Jiawen cut in sharply, her voice slicing through the air. Believe me or don't, I don't care. But mark my words, this beast tide will be bigger than anything you've imagined. Her gaze swept across the room, cold and unyielding. And for the record, I didn't come to Linjiang to beg for your trust. I came here for gear and to build defenses. Shen Jiawen's blunt attitude left Wei Yun from the security group and the fat rep from intelligence fuming. Once again, she showed zero respect for anyone at the table. The only exception was Yin Wang, who practically swooned, declaring she fully believed in Shen Jiawen. Shen Jiawen shot her a glare and snapped. Everyone knows your little kink. Do us all a favor and shut up. Her gaze swept across the room, voice sharp as a blade. I'm not here to target anyone, but in the entire Linjiang base, no one knows mutated creatures better than I do. She leaned forward, her tone steady but cutting. Yes, I'm greedy, cold-blooded, selfish, and profit-driven. But when it comes to the safety of Linjiang, I do not lie. We've all known each other for years. I expect you to take an expert's warning seriously. Her eyes hardened. Of course, you're free not to believe me. But if disaster comes, don't expect me to shoulder your losses. With that, she leaned back, falling silent. The room grew heavy with silence. A few leaders could only sigh. Wei Yun and the intelligence rep shook their heads. They trusted numbers, not words. Shen Jiawen noted their stubbornness and exhaled in resignation. For data worshippers like you, nothing I say right now will change your minds, she said coolly. So be it. We'll talk again in a few days. With that, she cut the connection, vanishing from the virtual conference without a backward glance. As soon as the virtual meeting ended, Shen Jiawen threw herself into preparations for the looming beast tide. According to Shen Jimei's report, nearly 80% of the squads in the western suburbs had already pledged support and were on their way. The news instantly lifted Shen Jiawen's mood, easing the irritation she'd carried out of the conference. Shen Jiamei, however, was still puzzled, unable to understand why the other leaders refused to believe their warning. Shen Jiawen caught her sister's look and explained calmly. The last few minor beast tides at the Linjiang base gave them the wrong impression, made them think it wasn't serious. Just watch. They'll learn their lessons soon enough. Meanwhile, Song Chao was scrolling through Mi Bo's trade list on the tablet. It included energy batteries and accessories, cheap military nutrient packs, standard ammo, and a variety of firearms with matching rounds. Heavy weapons weren't on the list, but given the circumstances, it was already a decent haul. After confirming the deal, Song Chao instinctively stood up and reached out his hand for a handshake. Mi Bo's projection froze, staring at him in confusion. Only then did Song Chao realize what he'd done. His cheeks burned as it dawned on him that she was just a hologram. Scratching his head awkwardly, he muttered, "My bad, sorry about that. Forgot you're just a projection." Mi Bo didn't take it to heart. Before logging off, she simply added, "I'll bring the supplies to the flower shop tomorrow morning for the trade." Song Chao felt quite satisfied with the negotiation. Even if he'd given up a little, the deal was sealed. At the doorway, however, Huang Mao frowned and asked, "Boss Song, didn't we kind of get the short end of the stick just now?" Song Chao waved it off casually. "It's fine. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And honestly, food isn't exactly rare for me." His words made Huang Mao's face twitch. Was this guy even human? Food wasn't rare. The remark hit him harder than a bullet. Lu Jin just laughed, clapping along with a flattering grin. "That's our logistics chief, someone we can really count on." Seeing their reactions, Song Chao felt awkward. Seriously? I'm just an ordinary guy from the modern world. Yet here I'm treated like some walking ATM. Just then, Shen Jiawen walked over after finishing her tasks, teasing, "What's the fun gossip you're hiding from me?" Huang Mao blurted out, Ba Song just made a losing deal. Shen Jiawen's temper flared instantly. Didn't I give you the price list already? How could you still lose out? Song Chao quickly explained. Given the situation, it's better to cut a little profit to make sure the supplies arrive immediately. He added with a sigh, honestly, the discount I gave is less than what we're paying Dr. Su for rent. The comparison left both Shun Jiawen and Huang Mao red-faced. With no better comeback, Shun Jiawen reluctantly gave in. Fine, when you put it that way, I'll let it slide. To prepare for the oncoming beast tide, Shun Jiawen began rallying more allies. Meanwhile, Song Chao kept trading supplies with Mibo. But the tension grew heavier by the day. Refugees fleeing from the western suburbs reported that the beast tide was forming at a frightening pace. Within half a day, new kinds of mutated creatures, never seen before, were already appearing north of Linjiang base. The discovery shook the leadership to its core, forcing them to call an emergency council to decide their next move. Before the council could even settle on a plan, messengers rushed in with grim news. The eastern branch of the Intelligence Bureau had already come under heavy assault from mutated beasts. Many managed to escape, but the overall losses were devastating. As for the southern district of Linjiang, in the dead of night, monsters smashed through the city's defenses. The disorganized locals were caught completely off guard. 2 slave camps were wiped out in an instant. With endless swarms pouring in, the southern forces collapsed, desperately crying out for reinforcements. In just 2 days, the Intelligence Bureau had suffered catastrophic damage. And outside the walls, more and more creatures were gathering. Even the Bureau's leader was starting to lose his nerve. At that moment, the holograms of Shun Jiawen and the so-called King of Hell flickered into view. Shun Jiawen smirked and drawled. Well, fatty, need a little help. Veins bulged on the bureau chief's forehead as he snapped. Why are you here? Just to mock me. Shun Jiawen replied with a sly grin. Mock you? Please, I already did that. I'm here to talk business now. Shun Jiawen's mocking tone left the fat chief fuming. But he couldn't lash back. He needed help, and the beast tide was already here. Like it or not, they had to face it head on. The King of Hell broke the tension first. The southern district has collapsed completely. The northeast is holding, but their defenses are stretched thin. Shun Jiawen cut in, sharp as ever. The problem isn't strength. It's efficiency. Our firepower is scattered, which makes killing the swarm far too slow. So, I have a proposal. Both the king and the bureau chief perked up instantly. What kind of proposal? Shun Jiawen raised a single finger. We lure them. Concentrate the beasts in one place, an induction plan. Once the plan was set in motion, massive hordes of mutants went berserk, swarming straight toward the emitters. Drawn by the signals, the creatures charged like madmen, trampling over everything in their path. Hidden in the shadows, Lu Jin observed their movements, making sure the plan held steady. He relayed the updates straight back to Shun Jiawen. Hearing everything was going smoothly, she finally allowed herself a faint smile of relief. Then came her next order, set up another decoy at the next location. Watching the monstrous horde change course, Lu Jin muttered in disbelief. Can't believe this actually works. Huang Mao let out a low whistle. Yeah, it's insane. Shun Jiamei, however, puffed up with pride. If we didn't have tricks like this, we'd never have survived in the West End. The bait works by emitting a mix of sonic waves and chemical scents, creating pheromones that drive mutant beasts into a frenzy. Under its influence, the creatures rush in like maniacs, eager to devour the decoy whole. Fights even break out among them, clawing and tearing at each other until the lure is consumed or burns out. As long as fresh bait is deployed, the swarm's path can be redirected at will. At this point, Shun Jiamei added smugly, "This lure is our exclusive creation, and soon it'll be our biggest bargaining chip against the other factions." Talking as they moved, the group reached their next setup point. Lu Jin crouched down, swiftly adjusting and activating the second emitter, ensuring the swarm would be dragged out of the southern district hellhole. Just as planned, the ravenous horde took the bait, surging together and pouring toward the south side of the city. With every step, monsters ripped into each other, fighting over the devices, thinning their own ranks. Other groups, unaware of the decoy tactic, jumped in when they saw fewer beasts, picking off stragglers ahead of schedule. When stronger mutants appeared, reinforcements were called in, multiple squads working together to keep the lure strategy intact. But just as everything seemed to run perfectly, one of Shun Jiaowen's scouts froze in horror. Deep within the swarm, a towering figure emerged, a barbarian mutant beast, king among the horde. At that moment, Shun Jiaowen was still studying the battle map, completely unaware that a barbarian mutant had appeared. She pointed at the chart, frowning. 2 hours ago, everything was on track. Most of the hordes were moving south. But look, several clusters in the east are gathering unnaturally toward the mountains. Just as she was puzzling over it, a telegraph operator rushed in with urgent news. A barbarian had been sighted. Shun Jiawen froze in shock, so that explained the strange movement patterns. Barbarians were high-tier mutants, not only monstrously strong, but also intelligent and capable of organizing others. Typically, they absorb surrounding creatures into a tribe and could even evolve their followers into elite shock troops. A bearded fighter muttered in awe, "Fighting a barbarian is like going up against an entire monster army. This is nothing like those scattered beast tides." The others grew uneasy, their hearts tightening at the thought. They quickly turned to Shun Jiawen, asking if she had any plan. She simply shrugged and replied, "What else? We deal with it head on." Soon, Shun Jiawen led her squad to the location reported by the scouts. There they saw it, the colossal barbarian mutant, its terrifying form shaking the ground as it roared to the sky, the echo summoning countless creatures from the wasteland. Shun Jiawen's gaze hardened. Hit it first. Cut down its warriors fast. If the horde closes in, we pull out immediately.